Welcome back, everyone. And today we're going to do things a bit differently. We are going to go straight and dive into the user interface. That's right. Basically, we now have a user interface that I've created which works together with this GPS module, which is the L76x by Waveshare. So, before I get into how to connect things and a big issue that I encountered as my previous episode suggests, basically, let me just dive in and show you exactly how this works. So we're going to first go ahead and open the code. So here's the code, basically. This was built using GenAI. Now, what I'm going to do is let's run this and I'll show you the interface. And here is the interface. Let me just get rid of the background. We're going to minimize this. So here's the interface. Let me just make this a bit bigger, and we can of course change the code to default into getting this a bit bigger from the start. Let me just increase that. All right, so first thing we need to do, this connects to the board, which is the controller board. At the top here, GPS device, leave that as is. The baud rate, leave that as is, as well as the web port. You could change these manually, but I don't recommend, as it's working perfect the way it is. I've added a simulation mode. That's something I was playing around with for a bit in order to kind of understand things, how they work, and it did help a lot. So what I'm going to do, first of all, we have a field here that says City for GPS Assist. And what is that? Essentially, what it does is that it allows things to go much faster. So what would be a otherwise slow process, which is what we call a cold start, which is the first time that a GPS system has to receive information, so latitude and longitude from the satellites. That may take a bit of time. So in order to speed things up, it's always good to have the module, so essentially our receiver, get some kind of bearing from the get-go, and that will help speed things up. So in order to help speed up the bearings, we're going to put you would enter your city, in this case Montreal, Canada, and or we can use Boston, USA, whichever city you're located in, or whichever city you plan to first thing is which city you're located in, because the main thing is you want to make sure that once you start the GPS and server, that you start getting a signal. So starting that, and we could see that we are now up and running, everything is active, everything's valid. If I open the live map, I will see my position on the live map. Then we have a force stop all. We can run diagnostics. I've set that up in order to run a couple of different types of diagnostics, so it helps add resiliency to the system, and as well as restart GPS service if it fails. We could check for GPS status. We could show raw GPS data as well, and we could load saved maps. So how will this work off grid? Well, ideally, you would probably think of, well, let's connect this with a cell phone and do some tethering. That would be a really bad idea. That's in my opinion. Why? Because if you're in remote areas and you've got, let's say, well, mountain ranges around, it might hinder the connection. So what you would do is use offline import. Now, offline import is something that I've added as a capability and a way to kind of do a little bit of cheating. Essentially, what we want to do, and because we can't just download the entire world map, it probably will end up crashing. So what we do is we only focus on the area of interest where you plan on hiking. So what we will do is we can enter an area name. But before we do this, I already have a few areas like Boston, USA. But essentially, what we could do here is we can add, let's add something different. We can add Charlotte, USA. I've never been to Charlotte, can't wait to go. I heard the food there is pretty good. You know what? Let's call this, let's just call that Charlotte. And so the area name, that's the name that will be saved as a namesave. Charlotte, USA, there we go. Let's find, assuming I spelled it right, and here we go, we have Charlotte. Now, let's say I wanted to trek, go backpacking in this area here. So I would get an area. So I drew the perimeter and I'm going to download this area. So it's downloading this as tiles. Gonna wait a bit. And here we have total tiles 35, downloaded 35. So this enters in as a JSON file. And we're gonna save it. So we save this as Charlotte or Charlotte. Perfect. Let's X out of here. Now, once you've driven to the area in question that you want to trek, you want to scale, you want to go ahead and do some hiking there, if it's a camping area or so on, now you could load it. And if you're off grid, there is no Wi-Fi, there is no connection whatsoever, just load your saved map. In this case, Charlotte, open the offline map. Here we go. This is the part that we saved. Now, if I was located in that area, anywhere within that perimeter, I would see my beacon. So pretty much, it's as simple as that. And this works. It works so beautifully. Let me show you the rest of these functionalities here. So there is also instructions. I've added instructions. Good idea. Always add instructions to whatever application you build. There we go. So a user would have the instructions, and at the same time, you could check also the health of your GPS status. You could, again, run diagnostics, as I've showed you that. Basically, that's it. That's really all you need. Nice and easy and clean and simple. So let me stop the graphical user interface for now, and I'm going to show you a few things. Hello again. So what was the issue for the for not being able to connect? Well, it's not an issue with the module itself. The module works great. It is amazing. It is responsive and it connects fairly easy. There are a few steps that you need to take to adjust it correctly. So I've posted that on my GitHub page. But the big issue, and unfortunately at the beginning, Gen AI didn't quite pick up on it, but it was a serial port issue. And the problem was that, well, Bluetooth was taking up that serial port space, and it is an ideal one because Bluetooth needs to work seamlessly, and so does GPS, and that is an ideal serial port for that. Now, in order to get the signals, and well, it was acquiring the signals, but in order for the information to flow through correctly, I had to shut down the Bluetooth. I don't need to use Bluetooth, so what I've just basically, I have these connectors here, so I can connect to um, these two here. I could connect to the mouse and to the keyboard wirelessly, as you could see. Now, the problem was that as Bluetooth was taking that space and GPS information could not go through, essentially everything was choking. So no matter what I did, I I thought it was an antenna issue. It's not. Antenna works great. The module works great. It is a very good module to get. You don't even need a magnetometer for this. So basically, this will give you the direction you're heading as well as the speed that you're going. So no magnetometer is needed here. That is already within the system, as the L76x GPS module is geared towards that. It has all the whistles and bells that you need. So how does this connect? Well, basically the green part at the bottom here, and I know this is getting a touch blurry. So the green part at the bottom, basically that is the Raspberry Pi 5. On top of that, you could see a heat sink there with a fan, and on top of that, basically straight down connection as what's called the hat. And here we go. So there is the GPS connection. These two yellow here, they connect to those pins. Essentially, it is, we want to short the B line. So once you short the B line, you're good, and they work as such. So here we go, a good view of it. Underneath it is a battery. You don't really need to have the battery connected, but I have connected the battery to it. And yep, very seamless. You do have some lights there. So the power light will be on, as well as there's another light here. Well, basically, you could just Google it. You'll see the model. So there's a PPS light. That's in fact what it's called. So if the PPS light flashes, the power light is on, and there's another light, the TDX. Those lights are on. It works. Basically, it's just a formatting issue, or you may have a serial port issue. Once that's resolved, you're good to go, and you'll have the essentially full connection, and you can go ahead and build your graphical user interface, or just download mine. Basically, I will have the script for that and all the files you need to understand how to connect things and set things up. Now that I've gone through the whole exercise, I realize it's not that difficult, but it does. It is an exercise, and it is fascinating because this is the first time that actually I'm showing you a user interface, a software essentially that connects to an external module. In this case, well, it could be a robot, robotics, whatever, any type of robotics board, but in this case, it's a GPS board. And other than having to use the terminal for the coding in the coding environment, so the VS terminal for activating, deactivating the GPS, having to figure out and build in resiliency and so on, you can have it all in one place, just as the GUI. Just do it all in one place, and it makes things a lot easier. Now, having said all this, episode 4, I will take the module out there in the boonies and I'm going to test it. There's a lot of other things that we're going to be doing, but I'll be adding some functionalities and essentially it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic in terms of just being able to use this in an outdoor where you're totally off grid and able to get all the information that you need. Um, I'm excited. I'm really excited, and I can't wait to showcase this. Wow. And I'm having so much fun. Basically, the synergies between software and hardware is incredible. Just being able to control hardware with a piece of software is just magical. For me, at least, that is what my core interest is. And that is where my passion actually is and what I'm going to be growing basically in this channel and showcasing more and more of. So don't forget to subscribe. Glad to have you on board if you have subscribed, and catch my next episode, as I'm really excited to see basically what we can do next. So thanks for joining. Bye for now.